Welcome to Red Light, Green Light, the podcast where top leaders in science, tech, pharma, finance, and innovation open up and get real. You are in the right place. You're about to hear personal stories from key moments of their career arcs and how they've struggled and succeeded when it comes to moving audiences from the red light of risk to the green light of go. We've got an exceptional invite-only lineup of leaders who've been in the room and at the table when stakes were high, decisions were hard, and their stories had to land. From the virtual room to the boardroom, they share what worked, what didn't, and how they paved a path to green lights by communicating authentically through strategic stories. I want to thank you for joining me today. Let's jump in. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Red Light, Green Light. I am your host, Cindy Skalicky, and every week we bring to you an awesome leader with fantastic stories about all sorts of things. And today I'm thrilled to bring to you a new leader to my orbit whose work is really impactful and incredible, Julie Williamson. Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
Yes, it's fantastic to see you and to have crossed paths with you and your team. I'm going to read a quick 1-2 punch about you, Julie, and your book,
Okay.
and then we'll dive right in to some of the things that you do for your work. So, everybody, Julie is the CEO and managing partner of Karrikin's Group, which is a Denver-based boutique consulting firm, and they're focused on leadership alignment, strategy execution, transformation, and executive team effectiveness, which is why our worlds intersect in some really kind of fun peanut butter and jelly ways, right? She's also the best-selling author of this fantastic book I have in my hands called Make How Matter: Key Conversations for Leaders to Build Alignment and Accelerate Growth. She hosts a podcast also called The Failure Gap, has been published at and writes for Forbes Business Council and CEO Magazine. I mean, she's the bomb. So, Julie, thank you for joining me. I know you do some speaking as well. How did you get into this line of work?
Well, I think we probably share the adventure of ending up where we are today, right? The spirit
Yep.
of adventure, I would say, is what led me to becoming the CEO of Karrikin's Group. But in all seriousness, I think, Cindy, one of the great things to know about careers is that they unfold in front of you when you take steps forward. And
Mm.
I feel like over the course of my career, I've taken a lot of steps in different directions and been willing
Mhm.
to explore a lot of
Mhm.
different things. So I started out in the 90s, kind of deep in technology and doing a lot of really cool stuff in the mobile phone industry.
Mm.
And then I stepped over into strategy and transformation
Mhm.
and got more into that space. Spent some time in change management as well and in organizational design. And
Mhm.
then pretty late in my career, actually, I went back to school and I got
Mm.
my PhD in a social science. And that
Okay.
was a big turn
Okay.
from the business world that I'd been in. And
Mhm.
that led me into this question of how do leadership teams become as effective as possible, not
Right.
just through the lens of business text, but also through the lens of social science, which helps us to understand how people come together and come apart and what
Mhm.
that really looks like mechanically. So that was
Yes.
a really great way for me to kind of expand my understanding of the business world in a
Yeah.
different way.
I love that you said the word mechanically. I just got so
Yeah.
excited
Yeah.
because, we talk about the mechanics of messaging. That's what I would say.
Uh-huh.
I'm like a message engineer, right? We talk about the
Yeah.
mechanics of messaging and story, and you talk about the mechanics of leadership at that high level, executive level team.
Uh,
And when I was reading your book, Julie, the first couple of chapters especially talk about this failure gap, which is why you named your podcast The Failure Gap. And it is really so much of what we see too with leadership teams. We just support us a different through another lens of that. Tell us
Right.
what that means in your world, the failure gap. That sounds like a red light.
The failure gap is definitely a red light in your vocabulary, I think.
Yes.
And I think we often see people agree that something is a good idea, but they struggle to break the deeply embedded habits and routines and ways of working that would help them to get aligned and take action and do
Mm,
something differently. And when you then multiply that across a team,
mhm.
you end up with a lot of red lights, a lot of
Yes.
different red lights, right, in that space
Mhm.
that put you in the failure gap. A great example is in the work that you do. So many leaders say, I agree, I should be a better communicator. I should use stories more effectively. I
Yep.
should be more confident presenting. They agree with that.
Mhm.
But there are a lot of reasons why they don't get aligned and get it done. Some of
Mhm.
it is skill set, or they just don't have the tools in their toolkit. But a
Mhm.
lot of it is that they feel safer and more confident being where they are today, quite frankly,
Mhm.
right? So they agree in concept, but they don't get aligned. There's a chapter in your book, I think it's called Leaders Get Nervous.
Yes, executives get
Yeah.
nervous, yes.
Yeah. Executives get nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah.
No, no,
But
it's okay.
executives get nervous. So it is very anxiety producing to try and change
Mhm.
yourself.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Well, I wanna pause here and look at that because it's obvious that people sense agreement around a new strategy or way of doing things. And then, just like you said, they struggle to change and they want to, and then don't know how to. It's safer, it's easier to do the things we know how to do. So, I suspect your PhD was one of the mechanisms you put into place to understand why that is. Would that be true? And can you shed some light into the
yeah.
behavioral realm?
Yeah, in organizational communication, which is what my PhD is in,
Mhm,
we look a lot at how, within a group setting,
mhm,
people are interacting and what are the dynamics, what's the energy that's being developed, how are decisions being made,
mhm.
how are things being communicated. And so when we look at those kinds of things through a really technical lens, you can then deconstruct some of the habits and the mindsets and the assumptions and the beliefs that are fueling the group behaviors. And so I
Okay.
think that's a really important place to start with leadership teams who are saying, gosh, we set priorities, but then we don't do anything about it, right? So
Yeah.
our number one priority doesn't get resourced.
Yep.
But we all agree it's the number one priority,
It's
right?
so important.
We Yeah, it's so important. We have this big strategy that we're all excited about, but we all need to make our numbers this month.
Mm,
Right? And so we
got it.
see those trade-offs getting negotiated in deeply habituated ways. So people will say, well, we have a long-term strategy, but the quarterly numbers take priority every quarter. That's a
Wow.
habit,
Wow.
right?
Yes, and that's a
Yeah.
thinking that voice comes from up above, right? Not
Yeah.
heavenward, but up
No.
above in the organization, right? It's like we
Yeah.
gotta make our numbers or someone's
Mhm.
saying those things, and so there's a lot of undoing. I mean, it's mindset, and it's
Mm.
reframing, and it's looking at other options instead of a binary choice. We're either doing this or we're doing that. Wait, what
Mhm.
about the other option, which is to change the way in which we're doing things and how we see things? So, I
Yeah.
mean, that's just what I'm imagining might be
I
true with your
Yeah,
work.
and I think you've just landed on something really important, which is binary thinking is also a habit. So it's
Yes.
either this or it's that. And leaders, the more senior you get, the more likely you might be to try and reduce decisions to binaries
Yeah, that feels
because
easy.
it's easier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this idea that something doesn't have to be binary,
Mhm.
there are a lot of ways for something to be in the middle, I think
Yes.
is really important in the decision-making processes that we follow
Mhm.
as groups.
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah,
Well, I love that, and I think for the word I mean, make how matter. I wanna talk about the
yeah,
title of your book also, Julie, because what attracted me to that is the way in which you describe sort of those closed door sessions with senior teams where you get this agreement and you're gonna do the thing. Like, the what is clear, the
yeah,
why is crystal clear. It's on everybody's placards in the lunchroom and the cafeteria and the whatever, but the how is hard. So talk
mhm.
about the how. and
Yeah.
maybe lead us to a mechanism that's in place. I know you have so many great
Yeah.
frameworks and worksheets, so maybe
Yeah.
tell us about how and what you do with a
Yeah.
team.
We know when we talk about how, we're specifically talking about how leaders lead.
Mhm.
And leaders don't love to talk about that. What they love to talk about is what other people should do differently, right? So, yes, we're going to transform our whole organization, and here's
Yep.
what everyone else needs to do differently. But I'm going to keep leading exactly the same way that I've been leading for the last 30 years,
It's like
right?
marriage, right? I
Yeah,
mean
exactly, right? Yeah, yeah. And so I think that's where we really try and give people what we call the space for quality conversations
Okay.
about how they need to lead differently in
Mhm.
order to support what other people need to do differently.
That's well
They're
said.
yeah, and
Mhm.
they're very comfortable, by the way, spending money and time on what other people need to do differently.
Oh, right.
And they're less inclined, to invest that in how they're leading differently. But if leaders don't change how they lead, they will not transform their organizations.
Right.
Full stop. I
Yep.
have seen it in a 30-year
Mhm.
consulting career. I'm
Mhm.
sure you've seen it in the work that
Mhm.
you do.
Mhm.
If you are not willing to change how you lead, you will not transform your organization.
100% agree with that. Yes. And
Yeah.
what's scary about that, because as I'm listening to you, the absolute natural thing to realize is that this is going to require us to talk about things that are vulnerable and
Mhm.
how we show up every day. And like, we're going to have to talk about feelings and how we behave and mistakes we've made and assumptions we've been wrong about and
Yeah.
feedback loops and things that are hard. It's like, welcome to welcome to
Yeah.
human life,
Welcome to being
humanness,
human. Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, so how do you, let's look at a team that you might work with,
Yeah.
Julie, and, you know, how do you kind of set the table, if you will, when you first start with a team, and what is, like, one of the first wins you're hoping for?
Yeah. It's a great question. And I think what we do typically, just to set the table a little bit, is we are often working with teams for anywhere from 6 to 18 months.
Mhm,
And we come back into these conversations over time
okay.
because we know that, as you just painted the picture, these can be tough conversations, but they're
Mhm,
so important
mhm,
for identifying and changing how you're leading as a
mhm,
leadership team.
mhm,
And so we know that you can't solve this in a catalytic event. It has to be something that you come back to over and over and over again. And what we're looking for in those early conversations, in the early working sessions that we have with teams, is for people to start to give voice to things that are
okay.
often invisible. We call it making the invisible visible.
Oh, I love that.
And when you're able to give voice
Mm.
to the tough trade offs that you're struggling with, we have a
Mhm.
great early trade offs conversation where people can say, yeah, I get that we have that long term strategy, and I'm under pressure to make my 90 days.
Yeah.
And that pressure comes from a mindset that the way that I'm best in service to the strategy is by making sure that my group hits its quarterly numbers. That's the mindset that I'm bringing in. And then the light bulbs start to go off. Like,
Yeah.
oh, if that's my mindset, then I'm never going to get out of the 90-day cycle and be
Right.
able to support the longer term strategy. So now we can start to have the conversation about
Yes.
how does the team support each other in
Mhm.
navigating that trade-off differently.
Mm.
But until you give
I
voice to it, it's not accessible.
I had to go get a pen and write that down literally, and it's the simplest
Yeah,
thing, but I haven't heard it said in that exact way, giving voice to it. It's
yeah,
so true, and that makes so much sense. I think that what it made me think about, because I was wrong. I thought you were gonna say, "Oh, we're looking for awareness of the situation, and we're gonna
yeah.
have people," like, because that's one of the things that I ask people to do early on is, like, become aware of other communicators who do it well.
Hmm,
What are they doing well? How do
mhm,
they say it? What are the words? What is the feeling you have when you're receiving their message, and why do you like it or not like it, right? But I
yeah,
love the giving voice piece because that is kind of a step of what we teach too. It's like if you can't articulate what your storyline is or your message is, it just doesn't sound the same in your head as when you get it out of your mouth. And when you get something
right,
out of your mouth and give it voice, it becomes a real tangible idea.
yeah,
Hey, listeners.
Super quick station break question for you. Have you ordered your copy of my new best-selling book, Red Light, Green Light? Grab your copy today at onpoint-communications.com/book. And now, back to the show. I'm
For
guessing
sure.
that's what's behind that, right?
And it also helps, I think, to tease apart misconceptions.
Yes.
So, an example I could give you of that is a lot of leadership teams, a lot of organizations talk a lot about trust.
Yep,
And trust is a concept, it's not a
totally.
thing, right?
Mhm.
And people have very different starting points for what trust means
Mm,
and how you give it and how you get it. And
mm,
so that comes from all of our life experiences. So now we're going to take
sure.
12 senior leaders, put them in very big roles and positions, tell them that they're on a team and that they need to trust each other.
Mhm.
And they're all coming at that word and that concept from a different place,
Yeah.
but they
Wow.
don't give voice to it. And so they end up in a situation where they don't feel like they trust each other because they haven't given a real definition in what that looks like.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so we talk a lot about the difference between, in our language, trust and confidence.
Mhm.
So, like, confidence is I believe that you can do your job.
Mhm.
You have the skills and necessary and experiences necessary to do your job. And trust is I believe that you've got my back when I'm in the room, when I'm not in the
Okay.
room, or that
Yes.
I believe that I trust you to have the enterprise perspective and not
Mhm.
just be looking for your own success, right? So
Self-serving, right.
trust looks
Mhm.
different. Yeah, not to be
Mhm.
self-serving. That's a good way to put
Mhm.
it. But they're
Mhm.
two different things, and you
Mhm.
solve them in different ways, right?
Mhm.
So if you don't have confidence in somebody, then you need to get to know their skills and experiences better. If you
Right.
don't have trust in somebody, then you need to develop the relationship.
Mhm. Exactly. Right.
But we
So
conflate the two,
mhm.
yeah,
Sure,
and we
sure.
we wind up with crossed wires.
Right. Well, it sounds like you're saying the green lights to getting success are in line with building trust, giving voice, having the relationships, and coming back to this at a with expert guidance from you and your
Yeah,
team, right? To sort of sit in the mess and get through it together. Or, maybe it's not a mess, but it's just new people together
yeah.
that who haven't worked together in the past. What are some of the experiences that have really like lit you up with feedback and results that other leaders have experienced from being with you all?
Yeah. We have a client who called us up earlier this year and said, "Hey, can you come out and do like a little tune up with us?" And we had last worked with them about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And they said the work that we did 5 years ago has made such a dramatic difference in
Wow.
our leadership team's ability to do some really big things. They did a massive acquisition that like tripled the size of the company.
Wow.
And they said, we never could have been as successful with that acquisition if we weren't as aligned as a leadership team as we
Mm,
were after going through this program with you guys 5 years ago. And they still
amazing.
hold on to the language that they developed. And
Amazing.
so our work, we always say it is not by us to you,
Mm,
it's with you for you.
mm.
And
Nice.
the language that each team comes up with is unique to that team. So
Mhm.
we're not here
Okay.
to say you need to do these 5 things as a team.
Okay.
You need to have the conversations that help you to build a shared understanding and shared language
Mm.
around how you intend to lead together as a team.
Okay. Love
And
that.
that's the work that then
That's
results in 5 years later being able to say, wow, we did some amazing things
yes.
because we got aligned as a team.
That's incredible, Julie. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. What a
Yeah.
feel good, like, you're like, "All right, I'm
Yeah.
done. I did
I
my
know,
thing.
right? I did my thing.
I
Yeah.
did my thing. I made some impact
Yeah.
on a" yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's fantastic. And
Yeah.
that kind of feedback can carry you for
Yeah.
weeks, months,
At
like,
least a
it's
couple
just
days, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and then you're like,
Yeah.
"Womp womp." No.
No. Well,
Um,
I'll
yeah,
give
go
you
ahead.
another just more recent
Yeah,
example. Even
please.
just this morning, actually, we were on a call with a global client who's going through a massive transformation, 3 or 4 years long. They're in
Mhm.
year two, which is a really hard year.
Yeah.
And, somebody on the call, we're in our third conversation with this group, and he said, I've been feeling really paralyzed by the complexity of all of this. And I just have been stuck in feeling paralyzed. And I'm
Mm.
starting to see that I can choose to take steps forward.
Wow.
I might not like, I don't need to wait to know exactly what's the right step. I just
Mhm.
need to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And so being able to
Wow.
say that out loud and have
Yes.
heads nodding around the room, other people being like, "Yeah, I've been feeling paralyzed too."
Yes.
And we do need to just keep moving forward and not wait for everything to be perfect before we, you
Mhm.
know, carry on,
Mhm. Oh,
was really a powerful moment.
yes, that's like an early light bulb moment where you're like, "Okay,
Yeah,
we're getting it, right? And this is
yeah,
helping." And it's, something I've even said
yeah,
both to clients and my kids and myself. It's like, "Just do the
yeah,
one next right thing that you think
exactly.
is right, and let's just do it one
Mhm.
foot in front of the other." And that, release of the cloudy feeling, though, that he
Yeah,
described of being, like, released of paralysis,
yeah,
how freeing to be able to, like, see more, because that tunnel vision is a really scary,
yeah,
suffocating place, and,
yep,
if you can unlock that for people and teams, I mean, goodness, that's just incredible. I love that. Well, Julie, if people haven't really been familiar with you or your work or, this concept and they pick up your book, what would you say, like, do this one thing in the book and this will give you a taste of your own sort of where you are and a little bit about us. There's so many
yeah.
great things in the book. So,
If people were gonna do one thing with the book, I would say I actually have it right here. I'm gonna give you a page number.
yeah, go for it.
I would
I bet I
say,
know. Well, I was wrong before, so tell me which one.
what's your bet? Tell me
Uh,
that.
well, let's see. Where's that exercise that is downloadable? It's in the early
Oh,
part.
there's lots of good worksheets
Oh.
and,
Oh, yeah.
um
27, page 27 is good. And page
yeah,
23.
I like it.
I got all kinds of underlined stuff in here, you guys.
Look at
So
us just, like, leafing through the book.
I know. Hold, please. We'll get some
Yeah,
elevator music.
exactly, right? Well, do, 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 do. Here we go. Um, Page 84 is actually where I was
Ooh.
going. But wait, page 27 you said is the notice and name worksheet. The
Yeah, the
notice and
notice.
name worksheet is a really powerful exercise. If you are trying to break a habit, this is from habit literature, it goes all the way back to Charles Duhigg and other people
Okay.
who write about habits. But
Yeah.
noticing when you're about to do the habit and then naming it is a
Yes.
really powerful way to
Yes.
change things. And so one of the things we do with teams is help them to notice the situations where they tend to make default decisions. So
Okay.
we're going to protect the quarter rather than sticking with the
Mhm.
strategy.
Mhm.
That's a
Yeah.
situation, right? Like, how do we
Yep.
notice that? And
I
then
went
change the
binary on my
conversation about
thinking.
it. Yep.
Mhm.
I went
Right.
binary in my thinking. Yeah.
Mhm.
But if you look at page 84, that's the
Yeah.
behavior model. And the
Okay.
behavior model is,
Behavior
yeah,
model
it's not rocket
right
science. Lots
here.
of people have their behavior
Mhm.
models. But
Yep.
if you are trying personally or professionally or with a team
Mhm.
to get to a different outcome,
Mhm.
then working backwards through the behavior model can be a really powerful
Okay.
exercise. And it's pretty simple. Anyone can do it. Think
Mhm.
about the outcome that you want.
Mhm.
What are your decisions and behaviors that need to change if you want to
Yes.
get to that outcome?
Amazing.
What are the
Simple.
trade offs that you experience that influence your decisions and behaviors and the
Mhm.
blockers that you experience?
Mhm.
And then how are your mindsets, group dynamics, and organizational factors influencing the way that you navigate those trade offs and blockers that
Mhm.
drive your decisions and behaviors?
Yeah.
Now, between individual mindsets, group dynamics, and organizational factors, of those three things, what do you think leadership teams like to focus on?
Oh, ah,
It's
say
not
that
the
again.
first two.
Yeah. I'm like,
they're
there's
they're
go ahead.
really comfortable focusing on organizational factors. Like,
Oh, yeah, it's not my fault, it's
let's
the
reorg.
organization.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to do a reorg. We're going to build a new process. We're going to buy a
Yeah.
new system. We're going to
Yeah.
do all of this stuff, right?
Right.
Those are important. You need the right organizational factors. But if leaders can focus on their individual mindsets and their group dynamics and the trade-offs that those influence,
Yeah.
then they're going to move really quickly to getting to new decisions and behaviors and driving new outcomes.
Right, well, there's ownership there, which is
Yeah.
scary and faster,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm gonna own this, it's part of my group dynamic or individual, and the organization is easy to blame, but I don't
Yeah.
have control over it, so right?
Often you don't. And
Right.
even if you do, it's about what other people do.
Exactly.
It's not
Right.
about how you lead.
Well, this is the same way that we teach people how to have higher levels of executive presence. What's the
Yeah.
outcome you want? Who's the
Yep.
person who's doing what you want to be able to do or sounds the way you hope to sound or makes people feel the way you want them to feel, back up the behaviors, name the behaviors, the words, the whatever, and then
Yeah.
adopt some one at a time and test them out in your little beta test of, your next meeting. Each meeting
Yeah.
is a beta test of how to do that.
Yeah.
So from an individual perspective, that model completely resonates with me from a different lens and through
Yeah.
communication. So that's fantastic. I love that.
I
Wonderful.
think I think with speakers, especially or with executives who need to present and want to level that up, one of the interesting things that I've noticed, I don't know if you've seen this with your clients, I suspect you have, is that they know the outcome is that they want to be a powerful speaker,
Mhm.
right? They want that like level of gravitas and presence.
Yep.
And they but there is a mindset, if you go all the way back in the behavior model, there's a mindset of, well, I'm a senior leader, so whatever I've been doing must be working.
Mhm.
Or there's a mindset of my expertise should carry the day. I'm a
Yes.
real expert in this area, and so people should want to pay attention to what I'm doing.
Yes.
Very few people have access to that without working with somebody like you, right?
Mm.
To help them to say, well, what's driving some of your assumptions
Mhm.
about what an audience wants and needs to hear from you?
Yes. Yes. I love that. The
Yeah,
other myth that we bust in senior leaders is around I can't tell a personal story in a business
yeah,
presentation. That's gonna make me look bad. It's so
yeah.
opposite, but this is not a podcast about me, it's about you,
But
so
but I think it all fits in, right? That's that idea, right? Like, how do we change how we lead? We do
Yeah.
it by giving voice to those kinds of things and
Yeah.
becoming really comfortable as a
Mhm.
communicator.
Mhm.
And that is about so the trade-off there, by the way, if you follow the behavior model, is
Mhm.
I'm going to keep it totally professional, or
Mhm.
I'm going to share my personal
Yes.
perspective, right?
Right,
And
which is
people they're more comfortable with the professional trade-off. I'm going to be buttoned up,
yes.
and so their
And
decision is I'm not going to tell that story.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, well, I mean, I hate to say the 2 letters, right? But, like, AI's here and people just think that's gonna be their script writer, and I'm like, "No!" Like, I'm in, like, a
Mm,
crusade, right? But
yeah.
are you bumping into stuff around AI with your teams? Does that fold into
Mm.
your work a little or a lot?
Yeah, yeah. For us at Karrikin's group, we are definitely leveraging AI to help us to be more efficient in some things.
Sure.
Operationally,
Mhm.
our work is deeply human. It relies
Yeah.
on people being in conversation with others. So
Mhm.
the work that we do in the room,
Mhm.
we are starting to experiment with some AI platforms that help people to make better decisions together as a team,
Mhm.
using a platform that can support that. So
Okay.
we're kind of dabbling in that,
Mhm.
but it becomes an accelerator or a tool to use
Yeah.
rather than a replacement for.
Yeah, I think especially there's reason for your line of business to be exceedingly cautious because we don't wanna replace the human decision making because
Mhm.
that's the creative human space of human thought that's not, du
Yeah.
able to be duplicated in exactly the same way. So,
I
um
do though, I do very strongly believe that all leaders have a personal responsibility to get their hands on the keyboard and be using the AI platforms that are out there
Mhm.
so that they can make informed decisions
Yep.
about their businesses.
Mhm.
And I think that I just did a keynote, actually a culture con about this very topic.
Amazing.
And, um, the analogy that I drew is back in the 1990s as PCs were coming into the workplace, a
Mhm.
lot of senior leaders were willing to buy PCs for other people, change what they did, but they weren't willing to use them themselves. And by
Okay.
the end of the 1990s, those leaders were out the door
Oh, interesting.
and they were being left out of the loop on decision making because they didn't know how to read their own email, like all of these things,
Yeah.
right?
So get
And I
get on the saddle.
yeah, I mean, you
Mhm.
need to at least as a leader, you need to at least like use AI to plan a vacation. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't care what you do with it, right?
Right.
But you should experience it in a
Yeah.
way that helps you to make informed decisions
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
that's how you'll understand the importance of keeping the human in the loop on
Yeah.
decision making.
Love that. That's a great
Yeah.
message, and I think that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Quick station break, listeners. If your team is ready to level up its strategic storytelling, I would love to meet you and hear your story. Shoot me a connection request at LinkedIn or via email, and we'll set up time to chat. Now, back to the show.
Yeah,
Julie, before we ask the final question, which is where do people find you and
yeah,
where would they be when you should be the next call? Okay, that's our last question. The
yeah,
question now is about a leader in your orbit who influenced you when you were maybe younger or, helped guide your path or some kind of um, advisor who really steers
yeah.
you, whether you knew it then or not. Who would that person be and how so?
When you asked the question, the first person that came to mind was a high school English teacher,
I love it.
Rosemary
Okay.
Crawford, and she was wonderful.
Oh,
One of the things that she really helped me to understand and appreciate is storytelling.
oh,
And
fantastic.
the way that language fits together and how you can deconstruct and construct stories
Yeah.
to get different perspectives on
Mhm.
situations.
Yeah.
And I think that that has carried me through as a communicator, both in the written form and in
Yeah.
speaking,
Great.
in a lot of different ways.
I think that's so great.
Shout out to high school English teachers.
Yeah, shout out to high school English teachers. Is
Yeah,
Rosemary still with us? Can you send her
she's
this
not.
episode? She's not? Okay,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah,
Sometimes that happens, and when they're still with us, I'm like, "Go send an email and thank the
yeah,
person that you love." So, well,
yeah,
that is great, and I like to remind our listeners and viewers, if there's someone out there you would like to tap on the shoulder to say thank you to them for some way they've shaped you. I mean, who wouldn't want to get a message like that at
yeah,
any given point in time, no matter how long it's been? And also to remember we all have the opportunity to influence people around us, whether older, younger, or whatever. We're all here to help the human experience be the best that it can be in work and in our personal lives. And we're all in the middle of our own stories, right? So,
yeah,
Julie, this has been a great episode, just as I knew it would. How
yeah,
do teams navigate the realities of like, I'm ready to call Karrikin's group?
yeah.
What are some of the um, issues they are maybe having right now? And then where do they find you?
Yeah, I think the best way to find us is karrikinsgroup.com. Maybe you throw
Okay.
those in the show notes. I know it's a
Sure.
little tricky to spell. You
Nope.
can
I know what
also
I'm.
Google
Mhm.
me or hit me up on LinkedIn. That's a great way
Okay.
to get in touch with us as
Mhm.
well. And I would say if you are sitting in meetings with your team and you're just like, I want to stick a needle in my eye because we're having the same conversation over and over again, or you're thinking, I cannot sit through this decision again because we made
Mm,
it last week and the week before, or you're feeling like, gosh, we have this transformation underway, we're not where we need to be,
mm,
or we're not actually resourcing what we say are priorities.
mm,
Those are great triggers to give
mhm.
us a call. It doesn't have to be that your team is, falling apart. It's that we're not getting where we need to be.
Yeah.
And we know
Great.
that we need to do better.
Yeah. Okay. Those are
Yeah.
great. Um, kind of marker moments. And
Yeah.
I think you might have your phone ringing quite a bit because a lot of people they would like to stick a fork in their eye at meetings
Yeah.
that are like the same thing over and over, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, this has
That's a
been
sure
fantastic.
sign you're in the failure gap. If
Yeah,
you're feeling like
exactly.
I cannot have this conversation one more time,
Yes,
you are in the failure gap and you
yes.
should
And
give us a call.
I think the message is you can get out and
Yeah.
it's like, and
Yeah.
it sounds like your work is like ours in that change can happen quickly
Mhm.
once we get the ball rolling, and you don't have to wait 6 to 18 months to see the result. It
That's right.
starts early, and that's
Yeah.
really encouraging.
We always say small things done consistently over time change the world.
Yep. Yes.
So this isn't
Small
about turning over
yeah.
the apple cart. It's about
Right.
what are those small things that you as leaders
Mhm.
can change about how you lead.
Mhm. Yeah, 1% a day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank
There
you,
you go.
Julie. Thank you
Yeah.
to all your team and all the great work they're doing in organizations all over the world, and, it's been awesome to have you here. Can't wait to share this with our audience.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you everyone for listening and watching. I appreciate your viewership. Don't forget to like and share this episode with someone who might need to hear this message. We will be back again next week with another great leader and that person's stories. In the meantime, get out there, find yourselves a stakeholder audience you need to get from no to go, and get out there and nail it. Bye bye.